You could restore, you could do that, because what you could do is you say, okay, we're going to then put this position in jeopardy effective end of June of 2009. But at this point in time, that position would be funded and still be filled. We asked our committees to look first at unfilled positions, so that if you have a vacancy where you have funding, but you do not yet have the position filled, that position would be the one we would like you to look at first, rather than trying to move a position off. Now, a couple of the agencies came to us and said, well, you know what, we really need this engineer position filled. We've got two other positions that are less critical. Can we go ahead and allow those two positions? And we said, as long as the money balances, we're okay.
So you don't need to restore that whole 1% then if an agency has an unfilled FTE, they put that on the table for that extra 1%. You're not going to give them one-time money for that.
That's why you saw us in the framework today talk about that it would be done not necessarily an equal 1% restoration. That it would be done, I think the words we actually used was for critical areas. Okay, so we will backfill, but we won't necessarily backfill pro rata across the board 1%. It depends on what the agencies are saying to us and what the subcommittees say after they've looked at those particular budgets.
Senator, I want to just clarify. So you said that the report back from most of the subcommittees today was that they've done the 4% or they've done the 3%?
Most of it was that they were at the 4%.
Okay.
Some are going back and doing some fine tuning on that, but I knew that'd be a real fight, and I think we've all looked at that because of the vested programs that are there in regard. A 4% budget cut is pretty significant, and I felt pretty good people working together, understanding that we have to have a balanced budget.
Just a dumb guy question to clarify here.
Okay.
At the end of next fiscal year, after this one-time, filling in the 1% happens, we're talking about a long-term 4% cut, and so every agency eventually is going to be at that 4% reduction, but through this fiscal year, it's effectively 3.
Every agency except for public education. Public education will have it restored for the 1 year. They will have a base budget cut then starting in 2009, which would be July 1st of 2009, if we don't restore. And that's one of the things that we'll be coming back from the session on. We're leaving some education money unallocated so we have some funds to go to if we need to.
And public ed is then completely restored through this fiscal year? Or?
Through this fiscal year, through June 30th of 2009, yes.
Okay. And then, but next year?
Next year, it'll be up to the legislature. It'll be up to the legislature in 2009 to determine if we restore the base cuts that were in public education. It'll be up to them, up to us at that time.
Are we talking about a certain number, and if so, what's the number of jobs that won't be filled, or there are also a certain number of jobs that are going to be eliminated?
It is individually by agency. We'll be looking at agencies. Some of the media got a misimpression that we were going to lay off highway patrol officers today. We are not. We are actually saying you have unfilled vacancies in the highway patrol that you're receiving funding for. We're going to pull back that funding for those unfilled vacancies. We're not saying rift highway patrol officers.
Do you have a RIF number though in mind at this point? I recognize it's still being broken down committee by committee, but how many people are going to lose their jobs as a result of this cut?
The first answer is no, we do not have a number. The second answer is we don't know yet because the subcommittees are still working. We won't know that probably until tomorrow.
But you do anticipate that there will be filled positions that are eliminated as part of this process?
Possible. Okay.
But a certain number of jobs that haven't been filled at the highway patrol will remain vacant for a certain amount of time.
Some of those positions will not be permitted any longer. Those positions are vacancies that have not been filled. And those positions will in effect be closed, will no longer be offered, and the money that was going to be used to pay for those positions will be taken back and used to cover the shortfalls.
What type of positions are we talking about?
Let me answer your question more fully. My understanding currently is that the highway patrol, even at the old level, have not filled all their slots. there are still vacancies in the highway patrol, they're trying to hire troopers. We authorize them even go above that level, and what we've basically done is retracted that approval levels. But they still have a gap in there, that they have space to hire new troopers. That will be unaffected by this action.
I just heard in the House caucus that there are 198 FTEs will likely be lost throughout just all of the state agencies, 144 of those in corrections, courts, and law enforcement. And would you consider, or would, I guess really with the Executive Appropriations Committees, consider a smaller budget scaling down in that area because it is so personnel heavy? They don't really have many programs.
Senator Hilliard, I don't know.
I'd answer it this way. I don't know how many state employees. I'm going to guess 20,000. And so if you're going to lose 180, but these cuts, the 3% cuts, are the ones the agencies have come forward to us and said, seeing there's not going to be the money, these are our recommendations. So it's not something we just willy-nilly pulled out of the air. These directors know where they can take these cuts the best. The number, I don't know. They may look at that and go back and look at their programs after they've gotten the cuts and said, you know, maybe this is something we could change and not let a person go. They may have somebody leaving they're not planning on and say, you know, we won't replace them. And so you'll have some non-replacement. So I don't think there's any way we really know until we get sure. We've tried to defer to the agencies as much as possible because they know their mission, they know what they do, and the governor's been great with his cooperation as we looked at this 3%. So I think there's a lot of speculation out there what's going to happen. We don't know.
$1 million in education funding vaporized or something. There's some question about what happened with that. There's also a budget shortfall of 87, 83, 82. Last year, this was news to me. I just cover a lot of different things, and that's why.
Let's just give you real quickly on that.